you know, either younger than us or, you know, passed and retired. So why not? You know, I want to challenge myself. The best always looking to fight the best and challenge themselves, you know, and why not, you know, challenge.
Terence Crawford can't beat him, right? This is a money grab for Terence Crawford. It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy.
But if you study Floyd closely, like I have, you will notice that
Terence Crawford has reportedly accepted Floyd Mayweather's fight proposal during a live interview with Stephen A. Smith. Crawford stated that for him, boxing is about pushing boundaries and taking on challenges, no matter how great they may be. He stressed that the best should always compete against the best, and he's ready to rise to the occasion once again. With steady confidence, Crawford made it clear that stepping into the ring with Mayweather is another chance to prove himself and surpass every expectation.
Because this is Terence the businessman talking, right? They got to pay the cheddar to make it better, right?
For sure, for sure. All money ain't good money, so you got to know that.
Okay, fair enough. I hate to use the word easy, but at times it did feel like you were, you know, having a really easy time out there. Were you expecting it to play out that way?
Listen, it's never easy, you know.
Stephen A. Smith has never shied away from bold opinions, and his take on boxing is no different. When he praises Terence Crawford for conquering 4 separate weight divisions, it's more than just flattery. It's recognition of a rare and historic accomplishment in modern boxing that in an era where many fighters avoid moving up or down in weight. Because of the risks, Crawford's success across 4 divisions sets him apart. Stephen A. points out that this kind of versatility cements Crawford as one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of all time. It reflects not only his physical adaptability, but also his technical skill, mental resilience, and relentless drive to test himself against tougher and tougher competition.
Terence Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance. He had poise in the ring, he wasn't rattled. He backed up and moved when necessary and kept us different. He exchanged enough to gain respect when necessary. It was a brilliant, brilliant, masterful fight on Terence Crawford's part.
A brilliant, masterful fight by Terence Crawford. Those were the words of Roy Jones Jr., a boxing legend who understands what it takes to dominate across multiple divisions. He praised Crawford's showing, especially in his clash with Canelo Alvarez. Jones noted that Crawford displayed the rare ability to draw inspiration from the arsenals of both Floyd Mayweather and Erislandy Lara, 2 fighters who had previously given Canelo serious problems. For Jones, this proved that Crawford is not only a naturally gifted athlete, but also a dedicated student of the game. What impressed him most was that Crawford didn't just copy those strategies, he adapted them. He blended the techniques into his own rhythm, making them even more effective in real time. That adaptability, Jones explained, is what sets Crawford apart from fighters who rely on one style and often falter against elite opposition.
Alvarez has been a great fighter his whole career. People like Erislandy Lara gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. People like Floyd Mayweather also gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. But Bud is more fierce, more fearsome and more angrier and more meaner than both of those guys. So you know if they showed you the blueprint, Bud gonna go out there, take that blueprint and do even more with it, which is what Bud did. So it was never a question in my mind whether Bud really was going to outbox me, just if he could take the punch. And right away he showed, bam, he could take the punch. So I knew from that point, if he just slow him down, which he did, he'd be okay. Then late in the fight, what other people still didn't see, late in the fight, Bud started hitting Canelo's body. One of those body shots, I think about the 7th or 8th round, hurt Canelo. I was like, whoa. Bud hit him in the right spot then, and he got Canelo's respect with that too. So Bud fought a very, very awesome fight, fought a beautiful fight, very tactical.
Very controlled.
Yes, it was a beautiful fight for boxing.
It was a beautiful fight. You know, Bud got hit with some shots.
He did.
He got hit with some single shots going out. You know, he's going out, and you know Canelo, if he has you trapped in the corner or along the ropes, it's typically 1 to 2 big shots. You know that if you've watched him.
Yep.
So you could tell Crawford, as he was going out, he knew the one shot was coming, and several times it landed. He even got hit with a 2-piece. I don't remember what round it was, uppercut right hand that Crawford took well. So when you started seeing him absorb the shots, if you're Team Crawford, you don't want him to take that shot. But if you started seeing that, now you know that, okay. And I think that's what gave Crawford the green light to stay there a little bit longer.
He smiled about it.
Yeah. And sometimes that smile can be a lie, and sometimes that smile can mean what I think it meant for Crawford, which is, oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
The prospect of Terence Crawford stepping into the ring with Floyd Mayweather, even in an exhibition match, has ignited heated debate. Critics argue that such a fight could damage Crawford's legacy. They contend that instead of building on historic victories like dismantling Errol Spence and outclassing Canelo Alvarez, Crawford risks being seen as chasing financial rewards rather than competitive glory. This perception is fueled by the fact that Mayweather's recent career has been dominated by lucrative exhibitions rather than legacy-defining contests. Analysts warn that Crawford has worked too hard to let himself be viewed as someone who values money over history. Still, others counter that Crawford's legacy is already secure. From their perspective, a showdown with Mayweather wouldn't diminish his greatness. It would simply add another captivating chapter to his story.
Terence Crawford. It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy. This is what was being said, right? This is what people perceived. Terence Crawford was just attempting to catch.
When fans compare the careers of Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford, the discussion quickly becomes layered and complex. Mayweather's resume features victories over some of boxing's biggest names. Yet critics often question the timing of those wins. For instance, Canelo Alvarez was still young and relatively inexperienced when he faced Mayweather, while Manny Pacquiao was reportedly injured during their long-anticipated 2015 showdown. Adding to the criticism is Mayweather's reluctance to grant rematches, particularly with Pacquiao, which left many fans with unanswered questions. Crawford, on the other hand, has secured his most significant wins against opponents widely considered to be in their prime. This contrast fuels an ongoing debate. Was Mayweather's unbeaten record purely the product of unrivaled skill, or was it carefully crafted through strategic matchmaking?
Still greater than Terence Crawford. We need to really talk about this now. A lot of you guys are putting Crawford a bit too high. If you want to say Crawford could beat Floyd, I'm more open to that conversation, but when you're lining up the careers, I'm going to say Floyd every time. While they're both 5 division, Bud has become 3-time undisputed, but he's only fought 10 world champions to Floyd's 25 world champions. You can't take away the 5 division, 3-time undisputed. In terms of accolades, yeah, he probably gets the nod over Floyd. I say their accolades are about relative, considering Floyd Mayweather won Fighter of the Decade as well. But when you get to the resumes, Pacquiao, Oscar, Canelo, Cotto, Mosley, Castillo, Marquez, Zab, Gotti, Hatton, and Corley. There's probably way more people that this guy just didn't name. And then when you get to Bud's resume, not saying it's just bad, but the only names that's really worth mentioning is going to be Spence and Canelo. It's not a knock on Bud. Bud was not able to make those fights early on in his career. But I got to tell you guys what it is. Bud's resume just doesn't line up with Floyd's. Take their top 20 wins. Bud don't even got 20 wins to really sit here and name. Floyd got a good 20-something plus. Bud probably got about 10 wins that we could really sit here and name. Floyd's still greater than Bud in my opinion.
Tony Jeffries, a respected boxing analyst, believes Floyd Mayweather's greatest weapon wasn't just his defense or speed, it was his mindset. He explains that Mayweather's unshakable belief in his ability to defeat anyone made him especially dangerous. Even in close contests, Floyd's extraordinary boxing IQ gave him the edge. His ability to read opponents, make real-time adjustments, and stay composed under pressure set him apart from fighters who relied solely on athleticism. According to Jeffries, this psychological advantage, combined with technical precision, is what made Mayweather appear almost untouchable and ultimately retire with a flawless record.
Strong mindset, they're really confident, they really believe in themselves, but you need more than that mindset. You need to have the full package of everything that I'm talking about, what Floyd has got.
Fighters should only want to get better. The more you win, the more you should work hard. If you think about losing, you're going to lose. All I ever thought about was winning. So that's all I know.
Floyd would visualize his success before he even stepped into the ring. There was no alternative to him but winning. And this mindset isn't just for boxing, it's for all walks of life. And I've actually done a full video talking about how I used this mindset of visualization to win my Olympic medal. And it was an absolute game changer. Now, Floyd used to use this mindset to ease the pressure that he put himself under. And he made himself think like, I'm not under any pressure right now, where he was under immense pressure.
Pressure either makes you or break you. Well, you see where I'm at, so it's obvious that I'm the type of athlete or I'm the type of entertainer that can deal with pressure. There's never no pressure.
Now, if you watch his fight in 2013 when he fought Canelo Alvarez,
the boxing world is always hungry for compelling matchups, and one of the most talked about possibilities is Terence Crawford versus David Benavidez. Benavidez brings size, power, and relentless aggression, qualities that present a truly unique challenge. Fans view this as the kind of high-risk showdown that could push Crawford further than ever before. While no official announcement has been made, the speculation reflects the public's desire for legacy-defining battles rather than money-driven exhibition spectacles. A clash between Crawford and Benavidez would symbolize the ultimate contrast: skill versus size, precision versus pressure.
This past Saturday, Mexican Independence Day weekend, what he took on defeated another first ballot Hall of Famer, but he essentially jumped up 3 weight classes. Technically 2, from 154 to 168, but only had 1 fight at 154 last August against Israel Majimov. Terence Crawford defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is a 4-division champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, and the reigning, at the time, super middleweight world champion, undisputed world champion. And Terence Crawford beat him handily and convincingly. And because he beat him so easily, now the 63 win, 3 loss, 2 draw, 39 win by way of knockout, biggest threat has been now imposed on Terence Bud Crawford. And that's the Mexican Ecuadorian monster, David Benavidez, who is a 2-division undefeated world champion, is the 2-time WBC super middleweight, and reigning WBC light heavyweight, 175-pound champion, who has a record of 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. He stands 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. This is a fight that David Benavidez has been calling for Canelo Alvarez when he was at 168, and Canelo Alvarez strategically maneuvered around him. But Canelo Alvarez is 5'7", with a 70-inch arm reach, started his career at 147 pounds, made his real name at 154 pounds. He's not a big guy, okay? And styles make fights. Benavidez is 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. His last fight at 168 against Demetrius Andrade, he rehydrated to 193. So he's a big guy. Canelo Alvarez probably rehydrate to 182, maybe 185 max, right? He's not a big guy, right?
The debate over Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford has no simple resolution. Both fought the best of their eras and consistently came out on top with dominant performances. Mayweather's flawless record and defensive mastery defined his generation, while Crawford's triumphs across multiple weight divisions showcase a rare blend of versatility and dominance. What complicates the argument are the differences in eras, opponents, and circumstances. Declaring one definitively greater than the other may never be possible, but together, they represent the highest standard of boxing excellence.
I said that was going to happen. If Crawford was to win, we're going to be seeing a lot of these debates on whether or not Floyd Mayweather or Terence Crawford is going to be better. Now, this is going to be a debate for a long, long time. I'm talking about one of those debates like LeBron versus MJ, Messi versus Ronaldo. It's one of those. And the thing is, I can get behind it. Let me go ahead and say this. When it comes to resume, I do think we give Floyd Mayweather the edge. I mean, he beat a bunch of champions. He reigned for a long time. While Crawford, his resume is heavily criticized, and he's just not getting, his kind of respect for beating Errol Spence and Canelo Alvarez. But if we're talking strictly off of skills, this is where things get really, really tough to talk about. I think a fair assessment of this matchup would be Floyd Mayweather wins from 135 and 140, while Crawford wins from 147 to 154. And I say that because I feel like Floyd's style changed once he got to welterweight. He became a more defensive fighter, and he just wasn't as much focused on offense. And knowing this, I feel like Crawford would have had a much better chance of handling him. And we all know, Crawford was an absolute monster at welterweight. But hey, man, like I said, this is going to be a debate for a very long time. I can't wait to hear all the talk about it. I'm curious on your thoughts. Who you think wins in the fight, Floyd or Terence Crawford? Let's talk about it, and follow me for more boxing.
Terence Crawford's triumph over Canelo Alvarez was a career-defining moment that erased any lingering doubts. His dismantling of Errol Spence had already silenced critics who questioned the level of his opposition, showcasing his ability to control every aspect of a fight from start to finish. But it was the domination of Canelo, once viewed as nearly untouchable, that truly cemented Crawford's place in boxing history. Analysts now agree that, with these victories, there is no debate left. Crawford belongs among the greatest fighters of all time. His ability to outclass champions across multiple divisions proves a level of dominance beyond argument.
The guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf. Right. Damn. Like, you know what I mean? Ain't no more ops out there. It's ops out there, but who gonna make them really want to get up? That's the
shit. Gotta make sense. That's like you said. You be the shark and then you be the wolf.
Yeah.
But there's the monster.
Yeah, there is, but that's like a real monster.
Bro, that's to me it don't make sense. But that's
really
what.
A monster.
Yo, is that proof? All right, we got the legendary Pape in the building. Legend.
Sure, man.
But what makes sense? Like, what makes the most sense? I know you said get a line of suits, Brooks Brothers.
Yeah, get a line of suits. Get a line of suits, get your money, man. Yeah, go ahead and get the easy money, man. You ain't gotta sweat no more.
What's up, boy?
Not saying you ain't gotta work, you ain't gotta sweat.
What's happening?
He's paved a career where he could sit down at a table and get this money. He could come out with a Terence Crawford series now, just doing whatever he like to do. People gonna watch it. Nobody, the fighting part, people don't understand what it's like to be a fighter. A lot of times fighters really don't be interested in certain fights.